you know, in Australia, I'm in here, and I fly places, and so I'm not down there just riding on airplanes for fun. So I'm very upfront about that with the customer, but the strategy, you need to have the right product at the right time for the marketplace. And you don't want to be ahead of the market or behind the market. If you're too late, people say, "Oh, I've seen that," and they compare you to other people. And if you're too early in a marketplace, they look at you and they say, "Why would I want that?" So kind of, whenever you get those two kind of answers, you want to pull yourself into the middle range. It's just, this company that I'm with right now, Blackwatch Data, we started about a year ago, and we started talking about data governance, and people had never heard that term before. And so we back up, and I tend to make things really simple. I say, we cleanse data to go live for SAP. People go, okay, we can understand those terms, so what do you mean by that? So that's always been my philosophy, to be able to distill in a small, 30-second talk about what you do. And then you work strategically from that. Excuse me, I started in the mainframe business. Well, first of all, I'm from Roswell, New Mexico, a tiny town out in New Mexico, an ugly little place. And I went to University of New Mexico, and I became a chemical engineer. And to work my way through college, I sold airplanes. I started off pumping gasoline at the airport. And then I sold an airplane one Sunday afternoon because no airplane salesman would come out. I mean, I've been blessed, I'm a pilot. I've been flying since I was 14 years old. And I sold an airplane, and then I became an airplane salesman. And then, so I had a different lifestyle going through university, as I call it, because I don't speak Amerispeak, I speak British speak. So I go through university and decided that I wanted to be in the computer business. And I came out of school and went to work for NCR back in the original Century 100 team, and IBM had the 360 as competitors, and it was moderately successful, but early mainframes, punch cards, it was a mess. We used to say secretly to each other, as other sales guys, we'd say, "There's no company we can't bring to its knees by selling it a computer system." Because it's just all the things, small disk drives, and really not having the understanding about where the marketplace. And I moved to California and went to work for Singer Business Machines, and we were very successful. But they decided not to be in the computer business anymore, and there was this telephone company, or this company called Rome Corporation out in California, ROLM Corp. And it was Richardson, Oshman, Lowenstern, and Maxfield. And I went and interviewed with these guys, and they built a Eclipse, Data General Eclipse mil-spec computer. So they'd take the Eclipse, the Data General, and put it for military specs. Its most famous role was on the moon lander, the original moon lander, the one that was throwing out memory errors, when they were coming down landing the first time, and putting out all the warning lights. That was a Rome computer, ruggedized Data General Eclipse computer. And they decided to get in the phone business. And I went down and I was San Francisco based, went down to Silicon Valley and at Santa Clara, and met these people at Rome, and they were going to build a telephone system. And they had a different idea about how they were going to build it. And they had 273 people because I was the 274th employee. And they had a number of them had been sold around the United States, and it was really a good machine, but the people that sold them didn't know that much about what they were doing, and so we had a lot of unhappy customers. So I went for a year, and I went around every day. I would leave San Francisco Sunday night, and everything west of the Mississippi was mine, and I would go see unhappy customers because we were growing, and our distributors was a telephone sales guy and a telephone repair guy. And we were really selling a computer system and not a telephone system. We had the first digital PBX, so the phone line was really just like a multiplexer. On one end was a codec, to convert digital to analog, and then swap it through the system, come out the other side. So we really weren't in the phone system market like traditionally. Bell had analog PBXs, and so they couldn't put features on like we could, just by reprogramming and all these things. And eventually I took over what became the first Roam operating company in the United States, where a distributor was failing, and I was moved to Los Angeles. And the first thing I told the travel person is, be sure you don't put me in a hotel where there's a Roam telephone system, because it probably won't be working that well. so I, as the Sheraton La Riana was our worst customer, and so I built an organization down there, and we called them a Roam operating company. And we started competing with Bell, who was the big player, and they had a Dimension PBX, who was analog and didn't have the flexibility that we had. But you were selling the communications people, you were selling to an ex-Bell guy, right? So most of the telecommunications managers in big corporations was a Bell guy that was kind of retired in that company, and so if you're not Bell, you can't be here. So we arrived at the idea that we would sell to the CIOs, and we just bypassed the telecommunication people. And we would tell our story to the CIOs, and we became very successful. And so we sold them like computer systems. So the traditional thing that how you did telephones, we did differently. And so what we did is that we recognized a weakness of our competitor and would take them on where the telephone guy wasn't used to talking to CIOs. So I hired salesmen that came from the computer industry, the hardware industry, or Xerox, the PSS trained sales guys, because they were very good at selling. And so we grew Roam, Southern California, really quickly to an $80 million company. And then I did Northern California and kind of did the same thing. And how many people know San Francisco very well? My office was, we were
several times.
Yeah, our headquarters was in Santa Clara, and I didn't want to be down in Silicon Valley because of the traffic and where I lived and everything, and all of our customers were up in the city anyway. Well, we had a lot in Silicon Valley, but I just didn't want to be down there because there was a highway called 237 that was take you.
Yes, I just
Take you a very
yes.
long time to get from point A to point B, coming from the East Bay. So I was in San Francisco, California Street, across from Tadditch's Bar and Grill, which is the oldest restaurant in San Francisco. So I had everything going, and we did really well. And we sold against Bell, against their weaknesses, because we knew what the telco guy was going to say. He's going to say, oh, it's not Bell. You have to be fear, uncertainty, and doubt, the IBM sales kind of thing. And so we knew how to sell against these guys. So we started being extremely successful.